In today's episode, we dive into the world of entertainment and media, exploring the journey of a TV host and singer who's captivated audiences on stage, screen, bringing local brands and stories to light, from singing with tour groups to co-hosting Arizona Daily Mix. Her dynamic presence has left a mark, balancing the glitz of showbiz with the warmth of family life. She is a force in Phoenix's vibrant culture. Join us for an unforgettable conversation on passion, performance, and community impact. Please welcome Lexy Romano.
When I came here to Arizona, I really wanted to kind of start working in television. And anybody who has done a career transition knows that it's really, really hard to start just something completely new.
Sure.
So I knew I needed to get kind of some experience under my belt. And because I didn't really have the opportunity to work professionally yet, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this myself. And I started a show which is called Phoenix Finds.
Awesome.
And I was like, let's go around to different businesses and interview people and kind of talk to people. And that was kind of how I got my start being in front of the camera, because I had like a performance background but had never really done on camera work before. So that was kind of where it came out of. And the show grew from just being on social media to being its own standalone television show that went to Channel 7.
Wow.
And after airing it there on Channel 7, they invited me to come be part of the morning show as a co-host. And there we are.
The rest is history.
The rest is history, as they say, yes.
That's awesome. Well, I
Thanks.
love following your page, Phoenix Finds. It's so great that you're featuring local businesses. And talk a little bit more about that. You know, how do you find the businesses? How do you pick them? And what does it all entail?
Yeah, it's kind of really all linked back to social media. Like, I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but truly, that is where a lot of us spend a lot of our time, is looking at social media, kind of scrolling on our phones. So if I see a business that I think, oh my gosh, this is so cool, people need to know about this, just through scrolling, I'll reach out to them. Or sometimes people will reach out to me on social media. Sometimes people will recommend other businesses.
Wow.
And then I'll kind of reach out and we'll figure it out from there. But the whole impetus behind it was that I was new to Phoenix and I didn't know anybody. I didn't really know anything about the city.
Sure.
And I started kind of slowly discovering places, and I thought, wow, this is so cool. Do other people know how cool this is?
Right.
And that was kind of where it all came from.
And what are some of the businesses that you feature? I mean, I know because I follow it, but like, tell the listeners and viewers, what are some of the businesses you featured?
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you for asking that. So we just recently did an episode with Kaya Holistic, which is a local shop that has a bunch of great things to help you live your best holistic life. So I just posted with them recently about that they have incredible lotions and they have incredible things if you need healing in your body. It was just kind of a whole person kind of shop
Right.
where you can go and get really great locally made stuff. We also did our recent holiday gift guide recently,
Yeah.
which you were a part of, which was so great.
That's right. That was so exciting.
Yeah, and it was so fun because for those, we get to have a bunch of different local businesses that are great as gifts for people. So
Sure.
if you're looking to shop local for the holidays, which I think we all should,
Right.
there were a bunch of different brands. I mean, we had candle companies, we had stuff for guys that was like highly crafted, curated cocktail mixes and things like that for men, and
Super cool.
a bunch of different stuff that maybe you don't even know that we have that kind of stuff here in Arizona.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you featured that. And
Yes.
so it was like a really great way to feature some of these businesses that we don't know about. I'm a native to Arizona. A lot of the businesses I've never seen or heard of before, but because you had them on your platform, you really gave an insight to viewers that, hey, these are some places you should check out. Like, don't go to Amazon, don't go to Walmart, don't go to
I
Target.
know, yes, it's so
Yeah.
easy to just shop online, just pick something up from Amazon, and I get it because we all do it. We all have that, oh, this is so much easier. But when you have the capability, you have the time and the money,
Sure.
and you are able to, I so highly encourage you to shop local.
Yeah, no, you're keeping the businesses alive by giving them a
Yes.
platform that they otherwise would not have. So
Oh.
that's awesome. Kudos to
Thanks.
you on that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I love it. And it's great because everybody, you find these people who are so passionate
Sure.
about what they do, because it's so different from the Walmarts, the Amazons, these
Yeah.
big giant corporate businesses that you don't even know a face behind that business. These small businesses, you get to meet and talk to these people, and that's the whole point of the interview video. You get to kind of hear a little bit of their story and their journey and why they started their business and why they do what they do.
Right. And I feel like if you're receiving those types of gifts, they feel more special.
Definitely.
And nobody has them necessarily. Like, you're not just going to find this on Amazon, on Prime, or someone can order and you get it tomorrow. It's something that's like truly treasured and created with like love, passion, and all that kind of, heart.
Absolutely. Yes. There's so much more behind it. It's so special. Like you said, there's not thousands of them all throughout the country that everybody has kind of the same cookie cutter thing.
Right.
These are very specific, very unique. And I love the businesses that are, especially things that are like candles or lotions or things like that that can be made with ingredients here from Arizona. Like we've done a lot of local candle businesses, and they have scents that are specific to the desert, which is like so cool.
That is really cool. That's cool. It's a great hostess gift. It's a great gift for guests who come to town.
Yes.
And so I feel like all of that has been super helpful and interesting to anyone following your platform to see and get exposure to those businesses. So
thanks. Yeah, thanks.
Job.
I hope people, see it and enjoy it, and it inspires them to patronize those businesses.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's definitely inspired me. So
I love it.
When you are doing your social media, how are you coming up with your content? What's your methodology?
So in terms of like Phoenix Fine stuff, we obviously have a very structured way that we film and we shoot, because we kind of treat it almost like it is a television show shoot. So we come out with, a bunch of cameras, a bunch of lights, microphones, and we make this really feel like a professional, because it is. This is a professional film shoot, because these segments air on Channel 7. I mean, they have to be the highest quality. We put them on social media as well, but I take snippets or tidbits here and there to put on social media. The actual footage itself it needs to be the highest quality that we can get. And so that's kind of how I approach it, that this is a video shoot. This is a television shoot that's highlighting this brand. So we go into it with the highest quality standard as our goal.
Right.
And I'm really, really privileged to work with some incredible videographers in town, some incredible editors. I do not do that stuff myself. I tried at the beginning, but I've learned in terms of content creation that there are people out there who are better at it and like doing it more than I do. So why would I not have those people do it?
Smart.
So that is kind of where we come at it. And the whole point of the shoot is to make the business owner feel like this is their time to shine. This is their moment in front of the camera. And that's why we kind of have a no holds barred kind of approach to it.
Right.
So it's fun because you do kind of, it feels a little glamorous. It feels a little bit, lights, camera, action. So it's fun. And I think in terms of Phoenix Finds, the business owners, they like it, I think. I think they have a good time.
And how do you reach out to them? Is it something like that you initiate contact with, or do you have someone else that does that for you?
It's usually me. It does depend kind of on the situation. Sometimes now that I've been doing it for a while, people will come to me and ask how they can be on the show.
Oh, awesome.
Which is great. And they can always do that through social media or my email address, whatever works. And then we talk from there and see if it's a good fit and see if it works for both of us. And then we move forward with it.
That's great. And then if you're seeking them out, like, do you have like kind of a genre that you're kind of looking for during a certain time frame that you want to feature these certain businesses in this area?
It kind of depends. It depends on if it kind of meets the criteria of, is this a locally owned business? Is this something that's going to resonate with my audience? Because I do think I have a specific kind of audience through social media. That? It's very hyper local. Usually it leans a little bit more female driven, hyper local people who are interested in going out to eat, going out to restaurants, people who have maybe a little bit more interest in shopping and a little bit more of an income to do that.
Okay.
So that's kind of
It's good to know.
the group, the demographic of people who follow Phoenix Finds. And I think, so when I find a brand that aligns with that, if it works for both parties, then we can move forward. If it's something that it's maybe, this is not necessarily going to really hit with my audience, like maybe this isn't something that they really would jive with, maybe we can find another way to work together. Maybe there's somebody else I know who I can refer them to, or if we can find a way to work in a different capacity. Because I don't ever want to say no to somebody, but I do want things that will work out for my audience, because that's going to be the best thing for the people being featured as well.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. You're like very mindful, number one, of like who's following you, what their demographic is, what their interests are, and then creating content or featuring local businesses that would appeal to them. Like very smart.
Because it's so great on social media or anything digital, we can see what people look at.
Sure.
You know, we can see what people click on, what they watch, how long they watch it.
Yep.
And so I've been able to kind of see, oh, this is the stuff that people really like. This is stuff that people maybe don't like as much. And that's really helped kind of funnel where we put our time and energy.
Right. I think that that's really important. Like any social media strategy, content creators that I follow or that I've heard speak at conferences are like, you have to be really mindful of that. Like you're not creating the content for yourself. You're creating it for your audience. And if you want them to watch and engage and all of those things, you really have to be mindful of what they like.
Yeah.
So kudos to you for doing that. That's awesome.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I love it. And I mean, I know you are really involved in the social media space as well. I mean, your content creation process is incredible. I mean, how does that juxtapose? I mean, what do you think is the most important thing for you?
I think same thing, like looking at that professional dashboard and like seeing like which videos are getting the most views, the most engagement. What do people want to hear? What do people want to see? Because it can be very different than what I think is important to put out there.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely look at that and we'll monitor that to see, okay, like they really like this type of a format.
I really like your videos where you do the Moronic Law Mondays.
Oh,
Is
thank
it
you.
Mondays
Yeah,
that you do
Moronic
it? Yes.
Law Monday.
Because you come up with stuff and I'm like, no way, is that real? You did one a while ago that was something in California that was so wild. And I'm originally from California, so I was like, oh man, what is this?
I think you commented on it. Yeah, that people really like those posts because
They're great.
they can't believe that these are actual laws. And like when I worked at the governor's office, we were responsible for going through the statutes and like cleaning out some of these dumb laws that were antiquated and like not needed anymore. So that's kind of where that whole idea came aboard. But people will ask me about that all the time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know.
What's the craziest one that you found here in Arizona?
I think it's, you can't have a donkey in a bathtub. Which it's like you kind of have to wonder, like, how did these laws even come aboard? Like, who did something to
with a donkey in a bathtub to make it a law?
Yeah,
that's hilarious. That is so funny.
It's just interesting to see, like, across the nation. It's very geographical too.
I'm sure they're so different for. I mean, obviously, like here in Arizona, like, you know, donkeys or burros or whatever it is, like,
we've got them.
Yeah, there you go. So maybe that wouldn't be the exact same kind of thing that you would find in like the East Coast or something.
Sure.
Very, very crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of wild. So that's how that came aboard. But
so funny. That's great. I love it.
So tell me a little bit more. I mean, you've got a really extensive background. Like you're so talented. I remember I saw on your stories on Instagram, because I follow you, of course, and I saw that you were singing, I think at the Global Ambassador Hotel, which just opened in the Camelback area. So tell us about your background in singing, because your voice is amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I have a long history with it. It's something that's my absolute passion. I've done it since I was a little kid. And I was lucky enough to, after college, move to New York City. I'm originally from California, but I moved to New York and I lived there for about 8 years. And I got to travel the world singing and performing, which is, who could ask for more than to get to live your dream like that? And I've kind of done everything from cruise ships to national tours to opening acts for people. And
tell us about the opening acts, because you've really performed for some huge names.
So though the times that I've gotten to do an opening act for, so Katy Perry and Tim McGraw were the two names that, it was when I was a part of the USO show troupe, which was based in New York City. And during their kind of USO tours that they did, we were able to go on before them and kind of act as an opening act for them. So that was really fun because we were performing in New York City for the troops. This was a specific thing just created for our service members, which was really, really beautiful. And yeah, we got to meet and perform with the likes of Katy Perry and Tim McGraw, which to see people like them perform right in front of your eyes, to kind of be on the same stage as them, it's a huge deal, and it was really, really incredible. And it was also something that was so close to my heart because working for the USO, I worked for them for a very, very long time and performed with them and traveled all over. It was so rewarding.
Sure.
A lot of times when you're performing as a singer, you know, you get out and you get to see the audience and hopefully see them enjoy it and love it, and that's great. But performing for the men and women who have served our country and seeing the songs that we were doing, because we did a lot of mostly patriotic songs and things like that, seeing those songs really touch those people's hearts.
Sure.
Man, there's like nothing quite like that. It was very, very special. And I'm super thankful I got to do it. But yeah, I've also traveled on cruise ships. That's where I met my husband.
Very cool. Tell me a little bit about that.
That was wild. It's a whole different world. We used to say it's like a floating city.
Right.
Because it really is. It's these gigantic ships that have everything from, you know, pools, casinos, bars, restaurants, all kinds of things that you would want to enjoy. And I got to meet my husband doing that. And it was fun because we got to kind of like float around and travel together and enjoy very fun locations together. But that definitely gets old. It gets old kind of quick.
It's hard. It's a hard life.
Yeah. And we were on the ships. The average was about 6 or 7 months. The longest I ever did was 9 months.
Oh my goodness.
At the end of that contract, I was like, okay, I need to get back on dry land.
Yeah.
I'm ready to be home and off the ship. But very fun thing to do, a great way to travel, a great way to see the world.
Sure.
Yeah, so that was really unique and fun.
That's awesome. I feel like I know they have the reality show Below Deck, which I am a fan of.
I know.
But they need a reality show of people like yourself and your husband who are performers on cruise ships, and they follow you along, because I would imagine that that's an interesting lifestyle. It would be a very good reality TV show. If anybody listening produces reality, yes, bravo,
right? Like truly, it would be such an interesting story, because there is so much stuff going on the ship, and it is like its own little mini world with the hierarchy of the captains and the people who maybe work in different industries on the ship and kind of how everything shakes out. It's very, very interesting. And it was also very cool to meet and work with so many international people. Right. Because in the casts, there were people from kind of all over the world, from Ukraine, from, the UK, just kind of all over the place. So it was very cool to meet different kinds of people and learn different things.
Cultures,
totally
languages.
Yes, it was amazing. And we worked with a lot of Australians too. And so there's a little phrase you say when you're about to go out on stage. Here in the United States, you say break a leg.
Right.
So before we'd go on stage, any time I was working with, Americans, you say break a leg. But in Australia, they don't say break a leg, they say chookers.
Oh,
so those were like little things that I got to learn working with people who are just, from different countries, different nationalities, just kind of fun little things.
That's really cool. And if you tell someone probably from a different country, break a leg, and they've never heard that term before, it's like, what are you talking about?
Excuse me? That sounds so mean.
Yeah, exactly. That's very cool. Do you still keep in contact with some of the people that you've met over the years through your singing and through touring on cruise ships and all that?
I do. What's great is social media has really opened up the ability to stay in contact with people even when they are on a different continent. Right. Obviously, I don't have the opportunity to speak to these people on a super regular basis just because we live very different lives on, like I said, completely different continents. But I get to follow all of them on social media and kind of keep up with them. And that's been really, really beautiful. And I think it has really helped expand what I think of in terms of just the world itself. When you travel, it just expands your worldview so much. Yeah.
You learn how other people live. You learn about their customs, their backgrounds.
Absolutely.
That's really cool to see and experience, and kind of just gives you an insight.
And I mean, for you, because you, and now forgive me if I'm thinking of this incorrectly, but were you born here in the United States?
I was, but I'm a first generation. So my family's from Eastern Europe, from the former Yugoslavia. So when you're talking about this, I'm like super interested because I've done studies abroad and I've come to visit my family back home. And so it's really cool to meet people from all over the world, because they live very differently than we do as Americans.
Absolutely.
And it's nice to see that,
So it is like, I've never been more thankful for what I have and the kind of privilege as an American that I have when I'm traveling. Like seeing how other people live, there is nothing that will make you more thankful, because we can all complain about just the world in general, where we live, how we live. But when you travel and you see how people in most other countries.
Right. Even westernized.
Even Western countries,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yep.
We are so, so, so lucky and so blessed here in the United States. And I'm not trying to be all political here, but we're just
Right.
really, really blessed. And I'm always really thankful to be an American and live in America.
I totally agree with you. And I can resonate with that because anytime I would go overseas to visit family or go on my study abroad or whatever, it's like you're so excited to leave. But man, when you hit customs in New York or wherever you first hit the United States, you're like, yes, thank you. Like you are so happy to be back.
Okay, so I did a show where I was performing in Switzerland and I was there for 4 months. And of course, you're so excited to go. And travel is the best thing. I so encourage people to travel. But I remember when I came back and I landed in New York and I was like, I am so thankful to hear so much English.
Yes.
Thank you, God. Like it was just... Because obviously in Switzerland, it's such a multicultural country and they speak many different languages.
Sure.
So I was there for quite a while. And obviously Swiss German is the main language, but you hear people speaking French and Italian. And so being there for so long, it was really tricky for my brain.
True.
Because I was trying to pick up a language, but there's so many different languages being spoken that coming back and being like, oh, it's just English.
There's
That's
just
so
what
nice.
I got to worry about. Yes. No, you're right. Because it's kind of like a melting pot. And I've been to Switzerland before and I do recall that. And so if you're trying to like hang on to something, that's probably not the place that you're going to really find the one language.
Yeah. So. Yeah. It was a great place to live and a great place to visit for a couple months. But yeah, it is tricky with so many languages being spoken. And it always did make me feel a little bit like, oh man, we're kind of lame sometimes. Like we do only speak English here.
I know. Yeah, it is true.
But do you speak multiple languages?
I do. I speak Serbo-Croatian, which is something I learned growing up from my family. You know, just while I was learning English, I was also learning Serbo-Croatian simultaneously, and then Spanish through school.
Oh, great.
And so I feel like that really has helped because in Arizona we're so cultural
inundated
with Spanish.
Yes.
And it really helps you communicate. Like when we were walking in here, there was a food delivery person and they only spoke Spanish. And they kept asking, where's the escalator? Or the escalator? Where's the elevator? Where's the elevator? And we were able to communicate and show them where to go.
Yeah.
But I mean, we definitely use it here in Arizona. So
definitely. Yeah. I don't like to say that I speak Spanish because I think having a full grasp on the language is a really difficult thing. And I don't know if you ever really get there unless you are a fluent native speaker or for you grow up speaking it. I do speak some Spanish and my mom actually speaks Spanish as well.
Oh, very cool.
But I don't consider myself I would never say oh yeah, I speak Spanish because I feel like, it's even after years of studying, I still don't consider that I have the grasp on it that I would like.
It's true. It's interesting how your brain can, for me, knowing Serbo-Croatian from just childhood and from birth. And then when I've learned Spanish, like how I learned those two languages, obviously very different.
Yeah.
And so I do sometimes also feel like a little self-conscious about my Spanish. And then my team will be like, no, you're great. Like just do it.
Yeah.
Speak it. And I always say I speak better Spanish with some tequila.
Me too.
Like, why is this flowing all of a sudden? This is great.
Anytime I've had a drink or two, especially margarita, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to speak in Spanish to everybody. And it's probably, just those inhibitions kind of go away.
Sure. You're like so self-conscious and like in your own head. Yeah. Probably.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, we'll have to get together and have a margarita and speak Spanish.
Yeah. We'll have some margaritas. We'll be speaking fluent Spanish.
I love it.
So tell me a little bit, like something we super connected on. And you reminded me kind of me when I was like a new mom. I mean, you're a new mom. And so when I found out you were a new mom, I remember I was on the AZ Daily Mix and I didn't know at that time that you were a new mom. And then I was following you and I saw your stories and you're posting your adorable son. He's so cute. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're a mom too. You're a new mom. So tell me a little bit about that and how that's been a transition with your career and balancing all of that.
Well, first of all, thank you. We think he's like the cutest little nugget in the world. And I'm just so in love with him. You know, it's hard. It is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And I know that people told me before I had him and while I was pregnant, it's tough. Like, it's hard. Be prepared. But I don't think you can ever really be prepared until you go through it.
For sure. No, you cannot.
You can't. Like, even when people do try to tell you, and, I appreciated that, but you can't really grasp it until you walk through it yourself. And it is a lot harder than I thought, like I said, but it's so much more rewarding than I thought at the same time.
Right.
So it's been a really incredible journey, and I'm so thankful to have him, that he's strong and healthy and happy, and it's been really, really great. And my husband is a rock star. I would not be able to do all the things that I do if it
Wow.
weren't for him, because we don't have family out here.
Sure.
And so that has been a real juggling act between the two of us,
Right.
so that I can work as well as
Right.
him working and then having the baby. So we kind of have figured it out that we have a system right now that works really well for us, and we're just super supportive of each other. You know, we have to be each other's biggest
Right.
cheerleader in order
Yeah.
to make this happen, because he has to believe in me and what I want
Right.
to do as much as I believe in myself, and vice versa for him, so that we can make it all happen. Because when you have a baby,
Yeah.
you can't just flit off and do your own thing anymore. There's always this extra thing, this piece of your life
Yep.
that's so important that you have to kind of figure out and juggle together. And I think it, hopefully for most people, makes you stronger
Sure.
when you figure out how to do that together.
That's right. I think that in some sense, like it can be considered to be, oh, shoot, we don't have family out here. But like you're truly learning to lean on each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's really good because it strengthens your relationship more so than just having a bunch of other, family members or extended family
Yeah.
members helping. Sometimes that doesn't necessarily help, actually.
You're totally right.
Yeah. So that's really good that you guys are a team and that he supports you and
he's
you guys
great.
can balance it together.
No, he's so great. And we do have a great support system in our church family.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
yeah, the people who've really stepped up to
Right.
help and be there for us, which is so phenomenal. And again, my husband is so great, but without those other people who have stepped in as well, we wouldn't
Sure.
be able to do what we do. But it's worked out really well, because obviously I work in the mornings
Yeah.
on the Daily Mix.
Yep.
And then I'm able to go home in the afternoon, which is when my husband goes to work. So
Okay.
he's there in the mornings 3 days out of the week. I go to work, and then the other 2 days we have someone come in and help us out. But it kind of has worked out balance-wise, and the fact that we're in kind of different industries, he's a musician full-time, and so
Right.
it kind of works, because he's more of a late-night guy, I'm more of an early morning gal, so it kind of works.
That is great. Yeah, it definitely is giving everyone an opportunity to get out of the house and like do what they're passionate about. And like tell me a little bit about that. Like maintaining motherhood obviously, but still working. Like how important is it to you to like get out there and do what you love?
So important. I remember when my son was first born, and I decided to stay home a little bit longer, because I think I had like 8 weeks or so, but I decided
Sure.
to stay home a little bit longer. And my husband went back to work, and I was home with him by myself. And I distinctly remember thinking, I can't do this. Like, I was not built for the women out there or men were built to stay home, and they want to, and they're so fulfilled doing that. I remember thinking, I think this will make me unhappy
Okay.
to stay home.
Right.
And that's just me.
Right.
That's just different for every person.
Yep.
And I felt that in myself, that I will feel happier and more fulfilled if I go do something for myself.
Right.
And I have a job and a career that I'm proud of, that I love to
Sure.
do. And so deciding to do that, and my husband obviously was very supportive of that. It was hard, because there are times that I think, should I be home with him every day?
Yeah. You've got that guilt.
Yeah,
Mom guilt is real.
It is so real, and it's too bad, because I don't set out to make myself feel like that, if you know what I mean.
True.
It's not something that I get up and think like, oh, well, I should feel bad about this, but it just happens.
It happens for sure.
And even though I'm really lucky and I am able to be with him for a good amount of the day,
Right.
it's still sometimes those times when, if he happens to wake up as I'm leaving, and I wish I could go in there and just give him one more squeeze before I leave, but I gotta go.
No.
So it's hard, and the mom guilt, it's a real thing, but I know logically in those moments when I think, oh, but I just wish I could, I think, no, I would not be fulfilled,
Sure.
and I wouldn't be my best if I stayed home
Right.
all day, every day. I think for me personally, that's just not what I want.
Right. It's like you have to fill your cup first so
Yeah.
that you can be the best mom to him,
And
the
pour
best
out
wife
for other
yes,
people. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think a lot of time we get pressure externally, like from society or from maybe other moms that are choosing no career path just to
Yeah.
stay at home,
Yeah.
which is so hard in and of itself.
Oh my gosh, it's so hard.
But I think sometimes like as moms who are professionals who are working, like you do have that pressure and you kind of get that external noise, and it's really important to tune that out and do what works for you, because every person has their own individualized journey and plan and what works for their family. And so
And you get it because you are like a badass business gal. Like
Thank
you
you
are
so much.
crushing it, and you have kids
you.
and you are like figuring it out. So I, as a new
Thank
mom,
you.
am looking at people like you going, if she can do it, like I can do it.
I mean, I just had to be in court. I didn't have to be on like TV, live TV. Like, so when I realized that you were a new mom and you were doing that, I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I remember I had to be on the record and in court, and that was hard, like nursing and doing that.
Yeah.
But like to be on live TV and to be presentable, like, I don't know how presentable I necessarily was as an assistant attorney general new mom. Like, perhaps some of the litigants were like, girl,
Oh no.
throw a comb in your hair. But like, you are like presentable, and it's so amazing to me. Like, you have it together. Like,
Well,
you really
thank
do.
you.
So
Ugh, I don't feel like that. And there were some times, especially in the beginning, when I would go in and I felt I hadn't gotten back to a place in my body where I felt good about yet.
sure, I can relate to that.
And it was really hard sometimes to be wearing clothes that I felt maybe were a little too tight, or I thought, oh, I wouldn't normally wear this, but because I'm on air, I want to look nice and presentable, like you said.
Right.
And it just made me feel not as comfortable. And so that was hard, kind of getting through that. And everybody takes their own time to
Yes.
to get to wherever they want to be in their bodies after having a baby. Because I don't ever want to say get back to whatever. Because I don't think you ever get back to.
No, but you
Your
definitely
body
have
has
that
changed forever.
stage that nobody really talks about. I feel like there's like that fourth trimester where you're like, what's happening?
Totally.
What's
and like my
happening?
hair was falling out and like
Yeah.
I just felt kind of like frumpy and
I
yeah,
can
the
remember
things
that.
that people don't want to talk about that are like, yeah, when you're nursing and you have to wear the nursing pads and like
I know.
there were times that
yeah.
it was like, oh, I'm on television. I if I forget these, what am I going to do if, you know, something
Sure.
happens? And
Sure.
yeah, so it's a lot of juggling.
I think that I'm so grateful now that I feel like people talk about uncomfortable things more now than maybe the prior generation. Like, I feel like my mom's generation, like they just didn't complain, or they just didn't share. They just didn't talk about things. They just sucked it up. And I remember like at my baby shower for my daughter, everyone's like, oh my God, I'm so excited you're having this baby. And then I remember I had her and like going through, you know, being a new mom for the first time. I'm like, why didn't any of those women tell me about this stuff?
Tell me
Like,
how hard it is.
where were you? Yeah.
I mean, and yes, I'm so thankful that we talk about it more because you're
Sure.
right. Like going into it now in, you know, I had him last year in 2023,
Oh my gosh.
having the internet, having YouTube, having all of this stuff that I can just at the click of a button look stuff up and talking to my mom
Sure.
about it. And she would always say, well, when I had my babies, like we didn't have all of that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, that would have been so much harder because I did feel at least thankful that I could look it up and be like, okay, I kind of have a little bit of an idea
Sure.
of maybe what's coming.
Yeah,
You know?
it's like a community, you know, a
is.
sounding board. People are kind of talking about what they're going through. And then I don't know why, like it just makes it a little bit more doable when you feel like you're not the only one enduring this
absolutely.
hardship, right? You're
Absolutely.
like, oh my gosh, like why is it like this for me? But if you see other people going through the same struggle, you're like, okay, like I've got
If
a
they can do it,
sisterhood.
I can do it. Yeah. And you
Yeah.
know, I will say like before I had my son, I always I had so many friends who had babies and I was always like, oh, I'm so supportive. I love you. I'm here for you.
Sure.
And I kind of thought, oh, like what's with the like mom clubs? Like what's with the mom groups? Like I'm another woman and I'm supportive and I love you. Like I get it. Like I'm here for you. But until you have actually walked through it, you can be supportive and loving and be a friend and be there for someone. And that's great. You should. But until you've actually walked through it, the whole support of like having other moms around you, I didn't understand until I went through it. And then other moms supported me and lifted me up. And that helped so much in those first couple weeks after when it was so hard.
Yeah.
Having other women reach out and just saying like, okay, I'm sure the baby's doing great, but how are you?
Yes. Everyone always forgets to ask how the mom's doing.
Or
the dad.
Or the dad too,
But
yeah.
it's like, how are you? Like,
And when people
know?
did that, when other moms remembered to touch base with me personally and ask me how I was doing and it gave me the space to be honest if it was a hard day.
Right.
That made a world of difference, and it really helped.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you had that. I feel like not a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And so thankfully you did have some people that did that, because I just feel like that makes it much more bearable.
It
and
did.
then you kind of feel like, geez, there's people that care about me.
Yes, it was so
I
nice.
can do this.
And now I feel like when I see other women I know who are, even if we're not super, super close friends, but if I see that they've just had a baby, I will try to make the effort to reach out, because I remember people doing that for me, and it made me feel like, oh, like I can do this. And yeah, there are people
Sure.
out there supporting me and rooting for me.
Right. Well,
So it
that's
was great.
great. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
You've had a lot of exciting changes this last year.
Oh my gosh, it's been crazy.
So if you could have any dream guest be featured on your show, who would you feature?
Okay, is this like one of those things where it's like you can do alive or dead, or do they have to be alive?
Oh, yeah. You could choose whoever you want. Resurrect whoever you need to resurrect.
Definitely Marilyn Monroe. Huge fan. Love her. Would love to just, I don't know, talk to her and hear her story from her mouth. I don't know.
Sure. That would be an awesome guest.
Right? Wouldn't that be
I would
so
definitely
fun?
tune in for that.
Yes. If ever we can make that happen, you know, from beyond the grave.
And what is your favorite song to perform when you're singing?
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's such a great question. Probably any song, you know, I'm a Christian, so any song in church where I get to kind of sing and praise at the same time. I don't know that I have a specific
Awesome.
one, but probably any song that's like that.
Do you have any advice that you could give to anyone who's aspiring to be a singer, an entertainer, a host?
Oh, that's great. I think I would say take every opportunity that you get very seriously and put your best self forward, because you never know, especially in this industry as an entertainer, in television, as a host, in any of those fields, you never know when the people you are working with will come back around in your life. And I've
Sure.
had that happen so many times for me. And I'm thankful that usually it has been a good relationship, but I would say take all those opportunities very, very seriously, put your best foot forward, and take the people around you very seriously and appreciate them and value them, because you never know in this world when
Right.
someone's going to be in your life again, or someone's going to be able to help you in some way, or you're going to be able to help them.
Sure.
So that's I think something really pragmatic. And then also, it sounds trite, but just keep going.
Yes.
This industry is so hard. It is so easy to say, as an entertainer, as an entrepreneur, any one of those fields, to say, oh my gosh, this doesn't feel like it's working. This is so hard. I can't do this anymore. I'm just going to give up.
Yep.
Don't. If
Right.
you really, really, really want it, and it sounds so trite, but it's true. If you really want it, keep going.
That's great advice. And I feel like it's applicable to any industry you're in, just like you said.
True.
Sometimes you don't see the needle moving and you're like, am I just doing this for nothing?
Yes.
And then all of a sudden something just flips
Yep.
and you see the payoff and you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't stop.
Yes.
Because what would have happened if I did?
Absolutely. And that's such a great way to put it. Sometimes you don't feel that the needle is moving,
Yeah.
and it can feel very like tedious, and I can't keep doing this. Why am I doing this? But eventually that breakthrough
Yep.
is gonna come. It's right around
Totally.
the corner. Oh, I love
Great
that.
advice. Great advice for
Oh,
our viewers and
thanks.
listeners. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in to Talk Legal to Me. Remember, you can listen to us everywhere you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple. And if you want to watch along, visit my YouTube channel at Lawyer Gordy. Until next time, stay informed, stay legal, and stay fabulous, besties.